Hello everyone, my name is Naya and Zulfa. Today I'd like to explain about 5 tips and tricks for note-taking in interpreting. In interpreting, especially consecutive interpreting, the interpreter listens to the speaker first, takes notes, and delivers the message in another language. Because of that, note-taking becomes very important. It helps the interpreter remember the message, organize the information, and speak more clearly. However, note-taking in interpreting is different from taking notes in class. In class, we may write longer explanation, but in interpreting, we need to write quickly while listening carefully, so our notes should be short, clear, and easy to understand. The first tip is catch the main idea. When taking notes, we should not write every single word from the speaker. If we try to write everything, we might lose focus and miss the next information. Instead, we should focus on the meaning of the message. We only need to write the important points such as names, number, dates, place, and the main idea. For example, if the speaker says the number of students increased this year, we do not need to write the full sentence. We can simply write the student with up arrow this year. This note is shorter, but the meaning is still clear, so the most important thing is not copying the speaker's words, but understanding and remembering the message. The second tip is use symbols. Symbols are very useful because they help us write faster. In interpreting, time is limited. So using symbols can save time. For example, we can use an up arrow to mean increase and a down arrow to mean decrease and an arrow to show result or cause and effect. We can also use symbols like plus for addition, minus for reduction, and not equal for contrast. Besides symbol, we can also use abbreviation. For example, we can write GOVS for government, edu for education, or info for information. The important thing is that we understand our own symbols and abbreviation. We should also use them consistently because if we keep changing the symbols, we may get confused when reading our notes. The third tip is write vertically. In interpreting, it is better to write notes from top to bottom. Instead of writing long sentence horizontally, writing vertically helps us see the order of the ideas more clearly. We can put one idea of each line so the structure of the message becomes easier to follow. For example, if the speaker explains a problem, then the cause and then the solution, we can write it like this: problem, then an arrow to cause, then an arrow to solution. This kind of structure make our notes simple and organized. Later we can when we interpret, we can easily follow the flow of the speaker's ideas. The fourth tip is mark connections. When interpreting, we do not only need to remember separate words or ideas, we also need to understand how one idea is connected to another idea. For example, the speaker may explain cause and effect, contrast, comparison, and sequence. If we do not mark the connections, we may forget the relationship between the ideas. To avoid that, we can use arrows, brackets, spacing, or simple symbols. For example, if the speaker says the rain increased, so the flood happened, we can write like rain up arrow and right arrow flood. If the speaker gives contrast, we can use but or the symbol for contrast. By marking connections, our interpretation will sound more logical and complete. The fifth tip is review and practice. Note-taking is a skill, and like other skills, it needs practice. After listening and taking notes, we should review our notes. We can ask ourselves, are my notes clear? Do I understand my symbols? Did I write too much or too little? By reviewing, we can know what works and what need to be improved. We can practice with short speeches, news, podcasts, or videos. First, listen to the audio, then take notes using symbols and keywords. After that, try to retell, interpret the message based on the notes. At first, it may feel difficult, but with regular practice, we can become faster and more confident. So those are the 5 tips and tricks for note taking in interpreting. The first catch is the main idea, second is to use symbols, the third is write vertically, the fourth is mark connections, and the fifth is review and practice. In conclusion, good note taking does not mean writing a lot. Good note taking means writing the most important information in a simple and organized way. With clear notes, interpreters can remember the message better and deliver it more accurately. Thank you for listening.